Hello and welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk Football Careers with myself, Barry, and today's special guest, John Rowbotham. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fine now, yeah, I'm doing okay.
I had a few technical issues there, but we'll manage it. Two of us are both in Fife, and I've spoke to people around the world, and we're having a worse connection between us. We're leaving ourselves open there for Fife jokes, eh?
I'm not gonna say them.
Let's not encourage it. So with over 25 years experience, John, at the highest levels of the game, refereeing league games, cup finals, international fixtures, Europa League, UEFA games. I'm just going to try and just go through your career with a series of questions, John, just starting right at the start regarding your early years and what influenced you in your career in refereeing, please.
So I was saying earlier on that in my last season as an amateur football player, I scored a winning goal in a cup final with about 5 seconds to go, and it was my only goal of the season. And I thought to myself, feeling pretty chuffed, but I thought I'll retire now at the ripe old age of 29 from amateur football. And I went home and I said to my wife, I think that's me now. I'm going out at the top, I've scored the winner in a cup final. Yeah. And my wife uttered those words that no man likes to hear. That's great, we can go shopping on a Saturday. So I said to her, without even thinking what I was saying, I says, I was thinking about taking up refereeing. I says, so I might not manage. And really, that's how it started. I committed myself to refereeing then.
I've always said that if I hit 180 at darts, that would be the last dart I'd throw in. So you've done that, and then you've thought, I need to come up with something different here. So how long did it take you to get all your qualifications to become sort of qualified to be a referee then?
Well, I started I sat my exam. It was after August 87. I started doing the course, and I passed my exam in December 1987. So it was about 4 or 5 months of going to classes and learning the laws of the game.
Yeah, and I've got another question here. What was the most challenging aspects of obtaining your qualifications, and how did you stay motivated during the early years?
Well, the qualification in my day, nowadays it's multiple choice in the exam, I believe, but in my day, the exam meant that we had to give the answer word for word. We didn't have a multiple choice. We had to answer almost the book. You know, the referee's highway code as it was. We almost had to do it word for word. So it was challenging learning it all, you know.
Yeah, it'll be all manual as well, because I mean, obviously nowadays they've got all websites and connected through social media.
Yeah. We sat in a classroom. And saw slides and things like that. So and read through the book and discussed the book and the laws of the game. So that's how it happened in my day.
It's amazing how it's all changed, but what can you remember your first game that you refereed?
It was it was an under-18 game in Dunfermline. And I was lost. You know, I went out there not knowing exactly what to do, thinking it was a nice, easy way of doing things. Only be told in the first few minutes how rubbish I was, and I thought, wow, this is what it's all about. But it was the likes of Davy Bingham and Big Sean Dennis were a couple of boys that were playing in that game that moved on to senior football. And in fact, Davy Bingham was my first ever caution in a game of football.
Is that right? There I remember him well. He played with the Pars, did he know, as well at one point?
Played with the Pars. So I think he was Dunfermline Jubilee under-18s, I think it was he was playing for.
So was that doing it, had that been doing it Petriva then, or?
No, it wasn't. It was... from what I remember, there's a pitch somewhere up the back of the town hill in Dunfermline, and that's where it was. It wasn't down at Petriva, you know.
No, it's because they're still. Well, I don't know if they're still trained in there, but up until recent years, I think Dunfermline were training at Petriva.
Yes, but that's where my first game was, up in some back and beyond in Dunfermline.
And I mean, I've got here. How did players and coaches respond to you as a new referee when you came through at a professional level?
As a new referee in a professional level?
Yeah.
Well, everything else, you know, as a new referee, they test you out to see what they can get away with and what they can't get away with, and how you're going to treat them as people. And so it's a whole new experience for them seeing a different referee, and it's a whole new experience for us as the new referee on the park.
Yeah, of course. And did any of these experiences in your early years helped shape your ability to handle pressure and tough situations?
Well, especially on the public parks, there's nothing better than hearing the comments on the public parks and dealing with the spectators at the side of the park, as opposed to going into a sort of larger stadium where you can't really hear the individual comments. But yeah, it certainly toughens you up starting out in the public parks.
Yeah, I could imagine. Sure. I mean, yeah, do you just block it out? Is it something you can just during the game?
Oh yeah. I used to say to people, they used to say, how do you block it out? And I used to say, I just turn off my hearing aid. Mm-hmm. You know,
like being shopping. It's just like being shopping with the wife, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you know, you hear what you want to hear.
You can just switch off and just tuned in on the game. Of course,
100%.
Can you remember the first player that you sent off, and would VAR have agreed with the decision nowadays?
The first person I sent off was Big Sean Dennis,
right,
at under 18 level. And VAR would agree with it now, definitely. Big Sean was a great character. He was a big lad. He was a big lad compared to some of the other under 18 boys, you know. And he certainly put himself about a bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, speaking of VAR, what is your honest opinion of VAR? Would you like it in your day, or?
Do you know, Barry? People have asked me, and you know, people slag off. Honestly, I would love it. Mm-hmm. Not for the hassle it causes, but and this is only an opinion. Remember, mm-hmm. I think it takes some of the pressure off the referees now. They have somebody else looking at a screen who can give advice. Right or wrongly, but they can give advice, and it's another pair of eyes. In my days, we had Sky cameras at the game, but they were watching you, and there was nobody to turn to. Whereas VAR, you've got somebody up in a studio who's watching every move and helping the referee. So yeah, for me personally, I would have said thanks very much.
Yeah. You see it during games. I mean, referees are getting surrounded when there's a decision, and right away they say, "I'm listening to that." And the players step back in. I remember it being in your face and everything.
Yeah, but the thing is, Barry, that's partly true. Yeah, the referee puts his finger to his ear, but that for some reason it doesn't stop players from coming in and you know, you think, so look, it's going to VAR. You know, just stay away from the referee. There's no need to go to the referee.
No, he's not going to change his mind then.
No. Well, he might change his mind when he goes across the VAR.
But it's not going to be something that you in his face is going to help with. But I find it bizarre. There's no many lines of work that you can get the abuse that seems to just be tolerated as part of the job. It's keeping it real, but at the same time, there's a fine line.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, reflecting on your own career, would you have liked VAR during that? You said yes, you would. You would have preferred that. Aye, definitely. Yeah. So, let me just flip over, please, and flip over again because that's in the way. Who were the biggest characters you had to referee, and who was the toughest to control?
Well, he's just taking it. Difficult to control in a certain way, but one of the guys was just taking over at the Pars, Neely Lennon. Neely was a character, you know, a fiery character. Not difficult to control, but you had to face to face with him a few times, and also Darren Jackson. Believe it or not, Darren. You know, God, if Darren lost the toss, it was my fault. You know, so I mean, there was others, but these boys kind of stick out in your mind. You know, as guys who were. The other guy was, and I don't mean this because it's all Celtic players, but Alan Thompson as well was another sort of nippy sweetie, you know, who but at the same time, you knew it was coming. You know, they weren't abusive, Barry. I mean, they weren't abusive. Well, you know, they were just guys who like to pressure you, and see if you would succumb to the pressure.
Maybe the dark arts as well. I mean,
they weren't nasty. I mean, by no ways were they nasty. You just had to be on your mettle when you were dealing with them.
And that kind of answers my next question. Did you develop any strategies for dealing with difficult personalities on the pitch? But that's what you were kind of tapping into.
No, well, you knew the personalities. You knew whatever game it was. There was usually someone in the game who you know that you would probably have in your face a few times. But there's also the personalities who you knew if you were having trouble with somebody, you can go and speak to, like Richard Gough at Rangers. When he was a captain, if you were having a bother somewhere, you could say, Richard, any chance, just have a word, before I have to start bringing cards out. But that was the same with Celtic players and Dundee United players. There was always somebody somewhere on the park that you could use to possibly help you.
I mean, the hardest part of your job, I mean, obviously getting the decisions right, but just keeping the camera on them for and they always say that the referees had a good match when you actually don't know.
Oh, it's man management. It's man management. You have to man manage a situation,
Yeah. Can I ask, what is it like before, during, and the aftermath of refereeing an Old Firm game? I mean, it's a question you'll get asked a lot, but for the viewers, it's something that they like.
Well, when it's coming, you're buzzing because it's the biggest game probably in Scotland. No disrespect, the Dundee Derby's a great game. You're buzzing. The Hearts Hibs game, you're buzzing. So it's no disrespect to them, but obviously the Old Firm game is one of these ones that it was a powder keg, and you were buzzing on the day of the game. There was nerves, but it was a good nerves, if that makes sense. And after the game, it was just the relief of, if you've come out the other side with people talking about the game, you were happy.
I mean, if people forget as well, I mean, the players are playing at these games that are potentially the biggest games of their career, but you forget the refs going through the same. And I remember speaking to you, I bumped into my local village a couple of years ago, and we were saying the same, that you get into World Cups and international games, you're reaching the peak of your level as well, and it must be, when you look back, it's proud, when you see it.
Oh, proud as punch, you're refereeing in the top league in Scotland, and then you're doing European games and international games, you're representing Scotland. You don't get a cap, but you're representing Scotland.
Do you get anything? Do you get like a medal or anything, a keepsake for refereeing the games? Or?
No, you get a nice medal for refereeing a cup final and things like that. But all the European games and international games are just about the honour of going to these games, representing Scotland, representing your refereeing association, and representing the SFA. So it's you don't get a cap as such, but you've got memories to look back on to say, well, look, 50 times I refereed abroad, and I was representing Scotland every time.
It's like I say, it's unseen side of things that people didn't notice. I mean, I'm talking my podcast, Let's Talk Football Careers, but so many people like yourself that's got a football career as well that you didn't appreciate it from the outside until you're actually, talking with yourself. I've got here, you refereed at many top tournaments all over the world. What is your proudest moment?
Well, just as I was saying previously, the fact that I was made an international referee, so to go out to all these games that I did and know that, okay, I was representing SFA, but representing myself, but representing my country, Scotland. They were real proud moments, and probably domestically, everybody wants to do the Scottish Cup final, and I was lucky enough to get one. So that was a proud moment. So, it's a combination of both those going abroad to represent your country and being able to do the top cup final in your own country is just amazing. It's a real buzz.
You'll get recognised all the time as well. I mean, maybe sometimes get confused with Kalina, but I think you got on everything you knew I was here now, is that right?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, Kalina, when I went on the FIFA list, Kalina was going on the FIFA list as well, and we ended up in Amsterdam with all the other referees, and the first time I met him. So that was an interesting situation, coming face to face with him. It was like kind of looking in the mirror, and I got to know him, and he went on to obviously greater things than I did, but it was a pleasure just to meet him,
I mean, a lot of these ex-players that I speak to, they all keep in touch. They're on WhatsApp groups. Do the referees and the officials and all do that as well? Do you not keep in touch? Or?
Not really. Sometimes for some reason, Willie, in the after dinner, Willie, I might WhatsApp Willie, or Kenny might message me with a text, but not really. We don't. There's not really a WhatsApp group. For ex-referees. I know some of the boys from through the West, I think like Kenny, Hugh and Willie, I think obviously because they're still doing work in Europe as supervisors or observers as they're called. I think they have more time, but I don't really have a lot of contact with these guys now, unfortunately.
You finished as well your career, and for everything that you were involved in, it is retirement time. You just want to switch off, and I mean, you do your after dinner speaking, but other than that, I mean, do you get a lot of hobbies? Well,
now that I'm retired, My wife's got my hobbies for me: decorating, gardening, cleaning the car. I've got great grandkids now, which is great fun. To spend time with them. I've got grandchildren. It's great fun. My wee granddaughter, she's doing well in her dancing. Lucy, it's great. She's doing brilliant, and it's proud to see them doing so. Yeah,
you'll bring a lot of joy.
Yeah. Well, there was all these years where my family life was kind of put to the side while I was training 5 nights a week and doing games. So it's now nice to be able to spend some time with them.
Yeah, because again, going back to that, we're always aware that our football players are travelling around the world, but you're leaving your family behind for big games all the time, the same way the football players. What do you do, like with arrangements for staying in hotels and that? Did you stay in the same hotels as the players, or did you
No. We were usually in a different. 99% of the time we were in the same hotel as the players, a different hotel to the players. I think there was only once when I went to Armenia, the team was in the same hotel, but we stayed in different hotels, and it was all done. It was all done in my day. It was all done for us. You would travel the day before, and there was a travel company who were down the stairs from the SFA's offices, who arranged the flights. They used to speak to the referee, when does it suit you? But you always had to be out there the day before, the day of the game, the hotel, the local association, whatever it was, whether it be a German association or a local football, one of the senior football teams where you're refereeing out there, they would arrange the hotels, the transport and all that. It's all changed nowadays, but that's how it worked in our day. And you'd fly back the next day.
There's that side of it as well, where you're going to be, like, I never thought I'd be doing this, and you're living the dream. You're getting flown about all different countries and staying in different places.
Well, as I say, you're going to these different countries, you're getting the respect, and you're there to represent Scotland. So, what more could a sports person want?
It's amazing. I've never accounted for it getting dark here, and I'm not getting up to turn our on, so I'm just looking at my questions here. But what would you give to any youngster looking to get into refereeing?
Oh, any youngster at the refereeing, go for it. The sky's the limit now. The way that you're looked after as you progress through your career, the things that you can get if you manage. It's like football. There's only certain people who will make the top grade, but there's other things. There's special assistant referees and things like that. And if you eventually work hard and get to that top echelon, you are going all over Europe. You're doing top domestic games in Scotland. You're traveling to countries, all over the world. You've got the chance, if you're lucky enough and good enough, to be at the World Cup, be at the Euro Championships. There's so much to refereeing, and if you've got the knowledge and you've got the mentality to do it, I would go for it. I didn't start till I was 29.
It makes you wonder how many games you could have refereed if you'd actually started refereeing for your.
Yeah, but I had the experience of playing amateur football, which I think that's about that experience, But the way that they bring young referees through now is so structured. Definitely. And by the way, for young boys, who are students or, that kind of thing, there's a few bob in it on a Saturday. You get a few quid for refereeing a game, but the whole thing is there's an end goal. You could be going to World Cups.
Brilliant. Do you feel that there will be eventually full-time referees right across the board then? Is that something that might come in, do you think?
Well, some countries do, but it's the finances, Barry. It's how do you finance? Where's the money to make? Because a lot of these guys, like say Hugh Dallas, Willie Young, Kenny Clark, lawyers, solicitors, if you're asking them to give up a career, you're going to have to pay them,
the salary.
I was lucky. I was a van salesman, so it was good for me. I was kind of one of the commoners. But if you're going to have full-time referees, it's the financial aspects. I consider myself a full-time referee. I used to come home and train 5 nights a week, and then I'd go and do a game on a Saturday or a game on a Sunday. And I trained when I went on holiday. I trained every day. I was on holiday in preparation for a fitness test when I came back. So
you have to be fitter than a lot of these players, because obviously I watch a lot of football and the ref never stops. You run
a lot of miles. So without actually being officially full-time, I was full-time. I was devoting my time, to refereeing. So, but financially, the financial side of trying to say to the boys in Scotland, here's enough money for you to make a career out of this is probably quite difficult.
Yeah, and that's where it's trying to find the right balance. I mean, we've got the potential there to bring through the referees, the training there, but it's difficult for them, like you say, to give up. It's a big risk, eh? It's as simple as that.
Yeah. But as I say, I did it, and Kenny and Willie and Hugh, and they all had high-class jobs, but they still found the time to do the training and do the work. So you have to make the sacrifice. It's a sacrifice, and you have to make it if you want to make the top.
How much you want it, exactly.
Yeah, it depends how much you want it, yeah.
Can I just ask another, one of the last questions, John, but is there a particular match, perhaps one with legendary moments or controversy, which you would have loved to be the man in the middle?
Well, I think, God, I have to say, I couldn't name a particular game, but I would have liked to referee a World Cup final. I was never at that, I was never officially at a World Cup tournament, but I suppose it's the pinnacle of every referee's career. If you want it enough, you want to referee a World Cup final, a European Championship final. The big tournaments. That would be the dream. That would be the dream.
You're wanting the biggest game you can get.
You want the biggest, and that would be the dream. And unfortunately, it never happened. But I had lots of great times. Going to different countries and representing my country, Scotland. So I was really happy with that. But if you're talking it hypothetically, I would have loved to run out in the World Cup final. It would have been great.
What's the biggest game you feel? Not obviously in Scotland, but the biggest game you sort of refereed then? What was it in Europe or that?
In Europe, well, I mean, there was a lot of club games. There was a lot of really good club games. Where you were doing the time. I mean, when I was playing amateur football, for some reason I don't know why, AC Milan were sort of my. People have. You've maybe got a Scottish team, you've got an English team, you've got AC Milan were my Italian team.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I went there with Les Morton as a fourth official to be a fourth official at AC Milan against Paris Saint-Germain. And I mean, wow, 80,000 people inside a stadium was just, and I thought to myself, wow, I've come to a place of, as a player and as a supporter, the thought of, being in Milan and okay, I was only fourth official, but wow, what a feeling. But there was lots of games, the international games in particular. Going to do international games were magnificent. But even going to places like, I never thought I'd go to Liechtenstein. I went to Liechtenstein to referee an international, Liechtenstein versus Austria, and it was like a derby game. It was like a derby game because I think Liechtenstein's landlocked to Austria, and Switzerland and Austria did it. So, and just to go there and see how they deal with things, and just some of the countries I went to, it was just great. I was a football supporter, and I just loved it all.
You can see it, and you've reached the pinnacle of where you could get, and see even the way you're looking back now, and that you must be. Well, I say so proud of everything you've achieved there. And
I've got a book up the stairs with photos from my trips that I had, and a note of the game that I had, and you can just look back on some of them, and it was just fantastic. I mean, going to that one in Armenia, we were in a stadium. They were building a new stadium, and it was unbelievable. They took us. The guy who looked after the stadium took us around the stadium to show us it, and it was an old, pure concrete stadium. Everything was concrete. The seats were concrete, and he was so proud of his stadium. I thought, wow. And at 6 o'clock at night, we were refereeing. It was nearly 40 degrees. We went to do a warm up. I was roasting, but then I thought to myself, wow, I'm in Armenia. Wow,
Random,
Just amazing, just going to Germany, going to Spain. I went to Spain to referee an under-21 Spanish game, and the old player Raul was playing, and then I did the Toulon under-21 tournament in Brazil. We're one of the teams there, and somebody says, come and watch their warm-up. Well, they stood in a big circle, and they passed the ball around, and the ball never touched the ground. In the warm-up, they just kept it up head, and I thought, wow. And then England were at that tournament, and Beckham and Scholes and all that were there, but then obviously they weren't known, at that time as big as they became.
Yeah.
France were there as a host nation, and Makaleli and all. It was just great. That's just a great
It's even the new when you're mentioning the names, it's like you're still struggling to believe it. It's like when you look back.
That one, AC Milan, Paolo Maldini, Ruud Gullit and Van Basten were up front. That was just
right now.
Unbelievable, man. You
miss it, man. You must. It must be hard to.
Listen, if I was able to run the length of myself and got a chance to go back to it tomorrow and do it all again, you'd need to hold me back. I'd be right at it.
Aye, well, your legacy will go on, because you're so well recognised. You're a very popular figure, John. And listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on, giving us the opportunity just to hear a few stories and just to have a wee chat with you. Thanks very much.
No problem, mate. It's nice that, because I didn't get a chance to talk about my mate, and it's really nice to come on and just relive it all a bit,
It's great. It takes you a wee trip down memory lane there. But
yeah, absolutely.
We'll keep in touch, John, and maybe further down the line we'll do a wee part 2 again. But thanks very much for coming on and allowing us the opportunity to chat. All right.
Cheers, mate. No problems. Thanks again. See you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.